This is Late Night Health. This is the radio show that cares about the most important part of your life, your health. During the next hour or so, the insane Daryl Wayne and I are going to take a look at some health issues that affect each and every one of us. I'm Mark Allen, and I am particularly concerned about COVID, about vaccines. We're going to take a look at that during the first part of our show, and then during the second part of our show, we're going to again take a look at COVID as we learn how to improve and strengthen our immune system. We're going to go right now to Connecticut, and we're going to speak with Dr. Jeremy Levin. He is a medical expert. He's chairman of the Global Biotech Innovation Organization, BIO, and we're going to talk about vaccines as they start to become available. Dr. Levin, welcome to Late Night Health.
Nice to speak with you, Mark and Daryl.
Let's talk about your background first of all. What puts you in a position to say, hey, let's take a look at the vaccines? What is your background and even your education?
You betcha. My MD is from Cambridge University in England, and my PhD is from Oxford. I've spent the last 35 years treating patients around the world, tuberculosis, HIV, and was much involved in many of the infectious diseases that you know in this country. Coming to the United States, I joined the biotech industry and have risen up through that. I've run one of the largest companies in the world, producing the most generics to the United States, 1 in 6 every pill. And indeed, we've produced a number of different entities. I also worked with Novartis, where, of course, we had vaccines, and Chiron, where we had vaccines. So know a bit about it. Had a great pleasure of also studying how infectious diseases spread through populations. So I'm now the chairman of BIO. That represents about 1,000 companies. And back when this pandemic started in January, BIO, at my request, coalesced all the companies. And there were none at that time doing much work in this area. We brought them all together, focused them, and today we've got over 700 programs, of which about 160 to 170 are now vaccine programs. Another 160 plus are new medicines that kill the virus. And then the rest are really trying out medicines that we already have. So have been really looking at this from the inception and with a bit of a background that could help.
You also, and you may have said this, you were the CEO of Teva Pharmaceuticals based in Israel, were you not?
Yes, indeed I was. That's a large generic company. It's a company I really think generics are very important. So I moved with my wife and we landed in Israel and we lived there while I ran it. We went through a couple of wars there, actually. It's kind of interesting, but still managed to get the medicines to the United States.
Let's take a look at the fact that last week, as we record this, at least one vaccine has been approved by the FDA. Would Jeremy Levin take it and ask his wife and children and family to take that vaccine?
Well, just a caution on that. No, to the best of my knowledge, no vaccines have been approved in the United States. There have been things let loose in Russia with almost no testing, and a couple other countries which frankly don't bear looking at. However, in the United States, to the best of my knowledge, no vaccines have been approved. There has been, however, a medicine which was produced by Gilead, which has been approved. Now, your question is, would I take a vaccine? Yes, I would take a vaccine if I knew that it had a full complement of safety and efficacy as laid out by the FDA. And the FDA has got some pretty good rules and regulations on this. If that vaccine passes those rules and regulations, I'm quite comfortable. If it doesn't, I'd kind of like somebody else who produced it to take it before me.
That's a good point. We know that the FDA, though, has issues, right, left, and sideways, in allowing new drugs to come to market. One of the things that bothers me is this fast track. How safe can that be? Can you respond to that?
Super good point. No, I can. In fact, the emergency use needs to be used really, really carefully. We saw this when in March 19, suddenly we had the approval of, we had the administration talking about hydroxychloroquine. And, of course, hydroxychloroquine has subsequently proved to be absolutely useless, of no value whatsoever, but worse yet, it's taken its way away from patients who actually need it. There are some diseases where it's useful, and we know of deaths and side effects from this. So the emergency use needs to be used extremely cautiously. And the beauty about the FDA, it actually does have checks and balances in it, and they focus on science and medicine. So if you remove any politics out of this and you let the FDA do what it needs to do, you can be pretty sure that the emergency use will not be used unless there is something that is of absolute value to people. And that I'm pretty confident on. The minute you mix politics up, the minute you remove science and medicine from the equation, you're in trouble.
Is that similar to allowing insurance companies to tell doctors what to do?
Oh, I have to say that that's a whole entirely different story, but you are correct. An insurance company has an obligation to serve the people who actually are paying the money for the insurance. That is not give them the right to determine what is a medicine and what isn't a medicine. And a good example of this is those insurance policies where they want people to try out older medicines, which we know aren't as good as the newer ones, and they say, try that out. And if it doesn't work, tough. And if it does work, that's great. If it doesn't, then we'll maybe consider the newer medicines. I'm not comfortable with that approach at all.
And yet that's where it seems that healthcare in the United States has indeed gone. I'm not against vaccines. I am concerned about some of the elements that have been put into vaccines. Over the years, over the number of years that we've been doing this show, and even before that, during my career, I have interviewed many people about vaccines, both pro and con. Is there a way in your mind to make the vaccine safe? We're taking the if it works or doesn't work out of it, but the fact that they put preservatives and other things in some of these vaccines, and that concerns me.
You betcha. There's no question vaccines can and will be safe and are safe. Let me give you some really important information, which I think people should focus on. Nobody questioned vaccines in the time when we were suffering from polio. Nobody questioned it when we knocked back smallpox. Well, what happened? What happened was a fallacious, false report published in the Lancet magazine in the 80s against the advice of all the doctors who were reviewing. That report linked vaccines to autism. It was a false report. It took 15 years for the Lancet, which is a famous British magazine, medical magazine, to retract and admit it had made a mistake. In the meantime, this whole myth of unsafe vaccines came into being. And unfortunately, what that has done is tens and tens of thousands of children who otherwise would have not got measles and mumps, did get measles and mumps, and many more got other disorders. So I know, having inspected plants where vaccines are manufactured, that you can make them real safe, and I have been very comfortable taking them. Without a vaccine, this country would suffer from plagues, not just of what we are suffering from now. We would have pandemics of measles, mumps, rubella. You'd even have smallpox here, and you can bet your bottom dollar that people would be begging for a vaccine, because those would be killing the kids, in big numbers.
Dr. Levin. We're going to take some time out. When we come back, we'll continue our discussion. We'll find out about how Russia and China are handling vaccines as well. I'm Mark Allen, along with the insane Daryl Wayne. We turn it back to Daryl as Late Night Health continues.
You're listening to Late Night Health with Mark Allen. The show continues in a moment. If you're listening to Late Night Health right now, you're part of the growing target of baby boomers we're serving. Hi, I'm Daryl Wayne, producer of Late Night Health, inviting you to join the Late Night Health family. If you have any business targeting the growing boomer market, Late Night Health is the ideal advertising vehicle for you. From vitamins to insurance, alternative health to Western-style medicine, Late Night Health caters to the growing population of those over 40 years old. This vibrant demographic has expendable income to fight aging, purchase travel, take care of aging parents, or just have fun. Find out about the advertising opportunities with Late Night Health. Call us at 805-391-0308. That's 805-391-0308, or email us at info@latenighthealth.com. That's info@latenighthealth.com. Join Late Night Health as we empower people to take charge of their own health care. Call now at 805-391-0308. That's 805-391-0308.
Late Night Health is proud of our partnership with the EBC, the Evolutionary Business Council. Check them out at ebcouncil.com.
You're listening to Late Night Health with Mark Allen. The show continues in a moment.
Recently, I met Jacqueline from Bright here in Los Angeles. She gave me a hearing exam and then showed me how to hear again with the new Signia Pure Series hearing aids, and she can give you your life back too. I hear birds chirping, birds cooing, and even my wife. They easily connect to my smartphone. The Signia hearing aids are amazing, and with the charge and go, I don't have to fiddle with batteries and hear all day long. Not hearing is frustrating for you and your family. I know you don't have a problem, but trust me, call Bright Here now for a free hearing exam, a $125 value, yours free, just for making an appointment now. There are offices throughout the Los Angeles area. Call Bright Here now at 323-424-7100. That's 323-424-7100 for a free hearing exam. There's no obligation. Call now, 323-424-7100, or visit them on the web at brighthere.com. Late Night Health continues. I'm Mark Allen. Dr. Jeremy Levin and I are talking about vaccines and the safety of vaccines. We were talking about, pandemics and how vaccines have stopped polio and smallpox, measles, and others. I'm concerned that there are so many vaccines now that kids are required to take. That bothers me a lot. I mean, I can remember my mom saying, go play with Billy. He has measles. And of course, a week or so later, I'd be itchy and my eyes were sensitive to light. And that's how I became immune to measles. Isn't that a better way?
Mike, there's a lot to be said for what you've described. It depends on the disease. To be fair, chickenpox is so rare, and it would be great to get chickenpox when you're young, because at that stage it's a benign disease. If you get it when it's older, it doesn't just affect your skin. It actually goes into your lungs. And I've seen people who died from chickenpox, adults. So the critical thing about a vaccine is, what are you using it for? Which disorders? And have you had a real clear understanding of its safety? And so one of the key things about the COVID vaccines that have been developed is that we really need to be able to monitor their long-term safety as well. And unfortunately, a couple things have happened which make that very tough to do.
Are you there, Doc?
Yeah, I'm here. Oh, well, just to outline, one of the things that is important about the safety, as I said, it's long-term safety. And there used to be the National Vaccine Program Office. And it's really a great office, staffed by some fantastic people. really understood what it was doing. Unfortunately, in August of last year, the HHS head decided to disband it and merged it. Now we don't have the ability to monitor long-term safety. So when the vaccines come up, we've got to be sure that we can actually track them. And one of the things that I've a degree of confidence in is that the person who's running what's called warp speed, the ability to get these vaccines quickly, Dr. Monsef Salui, Monsef knows this. And I'm sure that he will make a very special effort to pull together what was disbanded last year. I don't know why the administration disbanded it. They said it was for an efficiency, but it surely didn't give one confidence that we're able to track what's going to happen with the vaccine. Now, we know that other vaccines, measles, mumps, rubella, we can track those. We've got millions and millions, tens of millions of doses over many tens of years, so we know how safe they are. And that's what's critical about a vaccine. You need to know how safe and effective it is over time.
I remember taking both the Salk and the Sabin vaccines for polio. One was a sugar cube, and one made me cry in front of my friends. The Salk, the shot, but weren't they manufactured differently then than they are now?
You know,
they were. I'm going to say cleaner.
I remember those two vaccines exactly right. Sugar pill and the shot. Boy, that was sore.
Yes.
Realistically, there are improvements on the manufacturing. Today's vaccines, there are about 6 different ways of developing it. The most renowned and best-known ones are ones that have been used now for over 50, maybe 60 years. And those are still the same as they were back then. No, not a lot of difference, to be perfectly honest. Basically, one of them, you took a virus, you cooked it up a bit so that it can't be infectious, and you fed it to an individual, and the individual develops immunity. Another one, you did the same thing, and you injected it into the body, and the same thing happened. Quite frankly, these are very, very tried and tested because they've been used for so many years. And it's very tough to make a vaccine. For example, it's really tough to make a vaccine for a disease common in California, Rockies, and the East Coast, Lyme disease. People have been trying for years. But the way that they give it is exactly the same as they've given all these others. So we have a couple other new ways of giving it. For example, you give the gene from the virus into the body, and that makes the body react to it. The body grows the protein and then attacks the virus who comes into the body. Those look like an interesting way of doing it. Not a lot of experience in them, so we do need to monitor exactly how safe they are, but they're likely to have sufficient patients in this trial and long enough in the trials that they're running to be able to demonstrate safety. But the new ones are different from what was before that you and I had.
And at the same time, so that means that we're both older. Being
You mean more, Mark? You mean a little bit more creaky. I don't know about older. Definitely creaky. That's for sure.
There's your next thing. Develop a vaccine for creakiness. One of the things that pops into my mind is the fact that who's going to pay for this? I mean, we're not sure. You know, we talked about insurance companies. You're going to say to your insurance company, "I want the COVID-19 vaccine. Pay for it," or will the government pick it up? The Australian Prime Minister, I believe, within the last few months, said if the vaccine is developed in Australia, they will make it available worldwide, so that the process it doesn't have to make money. It can be given to consumers at a reasonable cost or even free.
I believe that kind of an approach is exactly what's going to happen here. The government, it is economically critical that the government provide vaccines to everybody in the United States. But by the way, Mark, it's not just the vaccines. We should be testing as well, because as much as we adopted vaccines, so we should all be tested. And it's the only way to stop a pandemic. If you don't test and isolate people and clusters of people are infected, what you're really relying upon is an attempt to do herd immunity. And we've seen what that's done. We've got nearly 250,000 people dead in this country, 9 million infected. And when you compare that to the rest of the world, that's absolutely shameful. And we need a national testing policy. We need a national isolation policy where you've tested. And we do need to have free vaccines for everybody.
And what about the effectiveness of social distancing? You and I are 3,000 miles apart, roughly. Daryl and I are 20 to 25 miles apart. And wearing a mask. Is that important as well?
Mark, no question. Look, it's not just COVID. If you were in a tuberculosis ward, a ward where you had tuberculosis, okay, you would never go into that clinical ward or into a room with somebody with tuberculosis without wearing a mask. Same thing here. And I'll give you a sense of what was the single most important thing to stop tuberculosis in the United States. In the late 19th century, tuberculosis was raging throughout New York and all the major cities. And what did they do? They enacted zoning so that you could only have so many people per apartment. Guess what? Without any medicine, anything new, the rate of tuberculosis just fell like a rock. So social distancing doesn't just work for COVID. It's already worked in this country where you actually had a terrible disease, tuberculosis.
Doctor, we're out of time. Will you come back and maybe in a month or so give us an update on the vaccines?
With great pleasure. If I can be helpful to you. And Mark, you guys are doing a super important job. We've got to explain to people what's going on. And everything that we should be talking about is science and medicine. And just take this damn politics right out of it.
Absolutely, 100%. Dr. Jeremy Levin has been our guest, and he is the chairman of the Biotechnology Innovation Organization, BIO. All right, Late Night Health continues with the insane Daryl Wayne. I'm Mark Allen. We'll be back.
Latest from the greatest, the best in new music by classic rockers, with your host, the insane Daryl Wayne.
This is Alice Cooper, and if Daryl Wayne is insane, what does that make me? Criminally insane. Stick around to find out.
Many of the artist interviews for the latest from the greatest have been captured on audio book. There is a Volume 1 and Volume 2. Great information and conversations with people in the industry and people surrounded by the industry, and of course the rock stars themselves.
I'm the Reverend Al Green, and you're listening to the insane Daryl Wayne. And I said Wayne Insane.
You can find it on Amazon or Blackstone Audio. Search for the latest from the greatest from Daryl Wayne, Darrell Wayne.
Hello, this is Weird Al Yankovic, and you're listening to the insane Daryl Wayne, aren't you?
Sometimes it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Words are a critical aspect of success. How you get your point across is a crucial part of what makes anything sell. So do it right and hire a writer. Whether it's articles, blog posts, technical writings, website content, product descriptions, or ghostwriting anything from a novel to a nonfiction book about your navel, contact Servet Hassan. If you want it to sell, write it right. Email Servet at servet@servethassan.com.